the live button.
But yeah, look, let's roll.
I think so. Somebody get on that live right there.
I don't know where do you put your hands?
Put them on top of your head. Like, this is really the best place for them, I think. All right, you can go live. Yep, do it. All right. So, are we rolling here? We're rolling. All right, cool. So we are talking about doing a second interview with Anthony Templet from I Just Killed My Dad tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 Central Standard Time, Baton Rouge. We're going to update what's been going on with Anthony since the last interview, since the plea. And I have Ryan here, Ryan Volo, who's my partner, and he's been doing most of the appearances with Anthony in court. So the fact that you're here, I'm kind of want to talk to you about how those appearances gone. What's Anthony been doing every time he goes to court?
Anthony is doing fantastic. And I'll tell you, the first time I was with him after the plea, the judge was asking, it was before Netflix came out, and he's asking questions about, I hear Netflix is coming out. And the judge cracked me up because he says, hey, come here. He said, who's going to play me in the series?
Judge Smith is wonderful.
Judge Smith.
I love him.
I just laughed because he was like, I hope it's Michael B. Jordan.
He's got
I'm like,
he's got a great sense of humor. He was so wonderful in this case. He just let us, he let us work it out in a way that was in Anthony's best interest. Never interfered with us, supported us through the process, both prosecution and defense. He was fabulous. He's not in the Netflix documentary because he's, I think probably by the judicial canons, not allowed to be. But he just was fabulous in the process. So.
And I can tell you he's been fantastic with Anthony the whole time. Yeah. One of the things was Anthony was supposed to get a high school education, a GED or whatnot. And that was one of his conditions of probation. And Anthony struggled to get the GED, to get enrolled.
Right.
And, we helped him out between us and the office and all that stuff, got him into the place. And it wasn't until after the series hit that somebody reached out and helped him out. And so now he's doing everything he needs to do as far as the probation.
I know we were lagging behind on the education, and I know that Anthony was kind of, look, when you don't have an education and then you're being told to go get one, you lack the sort of basic understanding and sophistication to go, where do I go? What do I do? And we were trying to guide him through that process, but there was only so much that we could do because I felt like he had to be comfortable where he was going. Like he had to find his place. I couldn't go find his place, right? Because then if I fasten my idea of what it should be onto him, then maybe he doesn't finish it, right? Maybe he doesn't complete it. So I wanted him to feel comfortable making the choice.
And I think he did a good job. Yeah. I think he's doing everything he needs to do following being on probation. And the judge essentially said, look, you're going to stay on probation until it ends, but we don't need to see you anymore unless there's an issue.
Right. And what we were trying to do is, along the way here, we've been trying to empower Anthony to find his way himself, right? I mean, one of the things that was difficult about dealing with Anthony was that he operated at such a sort of, I don't want to say juvenile level, I'm not trying to be offensive to him, but he operated at this level that wasn't consistent with his age. And so one of the things I wanted to do was get him to start thinking on his own, take care of himself, feel empowered to do the things he needed to do for himself. And one of those was, hey, get this task done, get this task done, and letting him do it. And saying to him, hey, if you need help, call me up. If you need some guidance, call me up. But sort of turning it over to him in a way that made sense.
And he's done a fantastic job. Yeah. He's done it for himself. And that's great. And that's exactly what anybody asks of anybody that we represent is, you got to get it done yourself. We can't do it for you.
If only all of our clients were as easy to deal with in probation as Anthony is.
Yeah.
So, not always the case, but he's been really great. So what we're trying to do is, and we were going live today to kind of announce to everybody that we're going to have a full interview in this space tomorrow afternoon, 1:30 p.m. Central Time here. We're going to talk to Anthony. Anthony and I are going to sit down maybe an hour, hour and a half, and just kind of talk about where he's at, what he's doing, what his plans are, how his life's changed since the documentary, since the events, since the plea, and since the documentary. Talk about a little bit about his GoFundMe and what he's chosen to do with that money, with that generosity that people reached out to him. We still, I still have people watching the show. I still have people reaching out on Instagram. I still have people sending me messages. I mean, it's incredible. It's just a steady stream of people.
You realize that we get emails all the time, and they're like, I just watched that series.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah,
If
yeah,
not
yeah.
sooner, we got the same email.
Oh, I get a message on Instagram every other day still. It's that much. It's like every 48 hours I get something from somebody that says, and look, and normally it's in Australia or Europe somewhere, or Indonesia. Oh man, we're huge fans over here. It's just incredible what you did. I mean, it's just the outpouring of support's been really touching.
It has, and it's great for him.
So anyway, we wanted to go live. We appreciate you guys tuning in to Ryan and I just talking about a bunch of nonsense. But
and I'll say it this way: this is the opportunity. If there's something that they want to ask him, this might be an opportunity to go through the comments today.
Sure.
And give you some other ideas.
That's actually, see, Ryan's a hell of a lot smarter than I am. So if you have a question that you want to ask Anthony, if there's something that you're curious about, if there's something that you want to ask him, some specific question that you want answered, put it in the comments below. Put it in the comments of this live. We'll kind of monitor that over the next 24 hours. If there's some questions in there that we feel are poignant or Anthony feels like answering, we'll certainly give it a shot at least. I'll write some of those questions down and we'll ask Anthony some of those questions. We want you all to feel like you're a part of the process. Anthony has certainly felt like he's had so much support from so many people across the world. We want everyone to feel like they get an opportunity maybe to interact with him or talk to him. At the very least, hear some questions answered. And so if you'll identify yourself and you'll allow us to do so, I'll sort of say your name and say this person asked this question and see if Anthony can answer some of those questions. If you have questions for me as his attorney, I'm more than happy to answer those questions as well and talk to you about, just what we did in the case. I've actually done some continuing legal education courses, presentations probably on this case and what we did here.
Where'd you go?
So I went to Alabama for one of them. I did one here in Baton Rouge. I'm actually going to Ventura, California at the end of July for an investigators association there to do another presentation, just to talk about how we undertook the investigation and how we sort of uncovered the story here, which look happens in every case, right?
Every one of them. Every one of them is its own unique case, and as much as this is the crime, everybody has their own defense. Everybody has their own issues. Everybody has their own different facts that appear.
That's it.
And we see them all.
Yeah, I mean, we have to uncover those facts, right? We have to tell the story. We have to tell the story of innocence. We have to talk about what it is that we believe our client did. I mean, I say it all the time. I'll say it for the rest of my practice and career. An attorney who thinks, a criminal defense attorney who goes into a courtroom thinking all they have to do is to disprove the state's case has a lot of clients in jail. Because it may not be the law that the defense bears a burden, but in reality, in the courtroom, in front of a jury, the defense bears the burden of telling a story of innocence.
And I think they feel it. I think all of our clients feel that too. When they go in and you hear innocent until proven guilty, but in reality, you're right. You just sit there and I don't want to see you're guilty until proven innocent, because that's not the law. Sure does feel like it sometimes.
Well, and look, and it's consistent with this idea of that the prosecution has to exclude all reasonable hypothesis of innocence, such that when we offer a case theory, when we tell a story that includes innocence and matches all the facts, all the evidence, if the prosecution can't rule that out, the prosecution can't exclude that as a reasonable possibility, that's not guilty. That's what not guilty is, and that's how we try cases. And so, in Anthony's case, we had to uncover those facts. We had to discover what was there for us to use to assist him in getting through this process. And so, that's part of what we're talking about in July for sure.
That's great. That's great.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting to do it from an investigator's perspective. To talk to them about. And what I was telling them the other day, I was like, look, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go at it like this. If you were working for me, this is what I'd want. Right, like this is what I, as a trial attorney, as a criminal defense trial attorney, this is what I would want from you. This is the sort of go down this path, not this path. And how do you determine where to go, right? Because the net can be cast massively wide, right? So then how do you hone that in what's in relevant information and irrelevant information? So it's a difficult task.
It's very difficult, and I can tell you that it's difficult on both sides.
I was about to say, as a prosecutor, you guys had investigators.
And we did have investigators, and you had
how did you use those guys? How did you use those guys?
Look, you have law enforcement in itself, right? And they have their own investigations and all that stuff.
Can I just not say what I believe about law enforcement investigations?
You can. But I can tell you that in some of the investigators, as far as the DA's use, some of it is just go get the people. Like you have witnesses and issues that people don't show up.
Go talk to the witness. Go get them.
Talk to the witness. We're set for trial tomorrow. Go get them. Make sure that they're in court, because that's half the battle on prosecuting the case is having the actual witnesses there to testify.
Getting people to the court. Sure.
Now there's some things as far as like especially in the DA's office in East Baton Rouge, they go to almost every homicide scene. The investigator and the prosecutor go there and look.
I was talking, Megan and I, our new attorney, we hired Megan Kling from the DA's office in the 23rd JDC over in Assumption in St. James Parish. And she had never been to a murder scene because in that particular district, prosecutors don't go to murder scenes. And I was telling her, I know the prosecutors in Baton Rouge go to the murder scenes. I know they're on call.
Yes.
They're on call to go out to the scenes so that they can get a feel for what's going on at the scene. That's one of the things we do in our cases, in the murder cases. We go to the scene. I went to Anthony's house. I got a feel for the space. I got a feel for how, because I told him, I did it another murder we picked up just the other day that we're defending. I want to be in the physical space because when I talk about it in front of a jury, I want to see it in my head. I want to tell them I stood in this space. I could put my hand on this wall and this wall. I could put my hand on this door in this spot. I mean, I want to tell them physically what was going on in that space.
It's easy to go there and do that because when you're on scene, you just get pictures sometimes in these cases, right? And you see the pictures, you're like, oh, it's a picture. What is that picture of? What is the perspective of that? And if you're on scene, you can go and see where everybody is, what's going on, where the evidence is or lack of, kind of thing.
In that new case, I actually saw a door jamb that was not clear in its position, and so it became very clear where one of the rounds was fired from because it couldn't have hit the wall without hitting the door jamb unless there was the angle was shifted to the right? So that's one of those things where a picture won't do justice what it is that you know about the space in the room when you see angles and you see bullet entry wounds on a wall. You know he had to have been here because if he was a foot over, he'd hit the door jamb and not that spot on the wall. You can't even see it from there. So that's the kind of stuff that we uncover. Anyway, we're talking about other stuff, but I just want to be clear what we're doing is we're sort of sneak previewing here the conversation we're going to have with Anthony Templet tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 CST. Central Standard Time. Right. I'm going to sit down with Anthony Templet, and we're going to talk about where he's at and what's happened since the plea, what's happened since our last interview. And hopefully, if you're out there and you're curious about Anthony and about the case and where he's at today, put a question down in the comments, and then what we'll do is we'll look at those questions and we'll pick a few of them, and we'll make sure to give you credit for your question, and I'll ask Anthony some of those questions that you might want to ask him, and we'll see what he has to say. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to him being here. And telling us what's going on. I get an opportunity to talk to Anthony every once in a while, but I don't really get an opportunity to sit down and say, Anthony, how are you doing? Specifically, what's going on with this? What's going on with A, B, C, or D, right?
And I can tell you from the conversations I've had with Anthony from day one until today, he's kind of opened up a lot more. And it's not, look, when I first got involved, very quiet, very shy.
Very quiet. He was hard to get to talk in the
documentary. Now I think he's a little bit more open. He's got a little bit more life experience to where he's going to be able to answer some questions.
He's getting used to the socialization, just talking to people.
And people probably approach him now just to say, "You're the guy. You're that guy."
And he's been working at a gas station, I think, for a while. So he has been forced to interact with the public on a regular basis over and over and over again. He's gotten a lot of reps. So he's gotten better at just feeling good and feeling comfortable talking to people, right? So, I think it's going to be great to have him in here.
I think so, too.
Yeah. Anything else, man?
No, I think we're good.
All right, folks. Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for checking in with us today. Again, tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 Central Standard Time, we're going to sit down for an interview with Anthony Templet from I Just Killed My Dad, and talk to him about where he's at, what's going on, how probation is going, how his education is going, just how's life, man? How's life going, and see what he has to say. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you very much. We'll see y'all tomorrow.